Explainer. Close your eyes for a second and imagine this. You're sitting in a cold, fluorescent-lit interview room. It's quiet, maybe a little too quiet. Your hands are resting perfectly still on the freezing metal table right in front of you. You aren't panicking, though. Actually, you're perfectly calm, because you're here to do a job. So across from you sits a weary-looking detective. He slides a photograph across the table. It's a messy hit-and-run scene. We're talking a crumpled fender, a smear of red paint, and a victim who won't ever be waking up. He looks you dead in the eye and asks, "Was this you behind the wheel?" Now, you have literally never seen that car before in your life. But for the $50,000 currently sitting in a locker across town, you take a slow breath, look right back at him, and say, yes. Crazy, right? But this actually represents a hidden economy that most of us just can't even fathom. It's the whole concept of the professional scapegoat, or, the fall guy. In this underground industry, your actual job isn't to break the law at all. Your job is to take the blame for the people who do. It's a world where your actual physical freedom literally becomes a commodity. It gets bought, sold, and traded. And as we're going to see, this kicks off a pretty chilling 8-level descent into the criminal ecosystem.
So, let's start at the bottom, the entry-level scapegoat, levels 1 and 2.
At level 1, you're what's known as the petty fall guy. Picture this. You're 19, you're completely broke, and to the local dealers in your neighborhood, you're basically treated as mere furniture. You're just the guy who holds the bag. When the sirens start flashing, you don't run. You just let the cops find the 3 ounces of product shoved in your pocket. Because here's the brutal trade-off you're making. The cost is 90 days in county jail, while the real earner stays totally free on the street. But the payout? Your rent is mysteriously paid up, and your mom gets groceries for the month. During this short stint, you learn a really profound, dangerous lesson. Your freedom has a price tag. And that realization? Well, that quickly gets you promoted. Okay, so now you hit level 2, the reliable rookie. You've done maybe 3 of these short stints now, and you've learned the absolute golden rule of the trade. You do not talk. This entire level is really just about surviving a sheer bureaucracy of horror. You refuse the detective's coffee, you completely ignore their deals, and you don't even blink when they threaten you with a decade in a concrete box. You just endure the humiliating intake processes, the strip searches, and the intense claustrophobia of a 6x9 cell in total silence. Because you see, this is your audition. By surviving all of this silently, the organization stops seeing you as just some desperate kid. You've just transitioned into a highly valued asset.
Moving right along, climbing the criminal ladder, levels 3 and 4.
Now you're leaving those gritty street deals behind and entering the surprisingly lucrative, heavily air-conditioned world of clean crime. Welcome to level 3. You are now a white paper fan. What does that mean? Basically, you're an administrator for shell companies. You're out there signing your name to countless spreadsheets and corporate filings for businesses, like construction firms or restaurant chains that you have literally never even visited. On paper, sure, you're the CEO, but in reality, you're the designated target for a massive money-washing machine. It's just a highly calculated risk mitigation strategy. If the feds or the tax authorities ever come knocking, the paper trail stops squarely at your front door, ensuring the real bosses stay perfectly safe in their downtown glass offices.
But by level 4, the stakes absolutely skyrocket. You're 25 years old now, operating as a high-stakes fixer, moving between safe houses like an absolute ghost. This is where you get that frantic phone call at 3 a.m. Maybe a politician's son or a high-ranking lieutenant in the organization has caused a fatal accident. Your job? You have to arrive at the scene before the police do. You physically switch seats with the guilty party, rub your eyes to look dazed, and just wait for the handcuffs. And the payoff for this little performance? A massive $250,000.
But honestly, this is where the psychological toll really begins to take root. Because to survive this, you have to create a severe mental split. You tell yourself, hey, this split is worth the price. You maintain this illusion that the real you is out there getting incredibly rich and winning the ultimate game of capitalism. The reality, though, you're literally convincing yourself that the person locked in a cell taking a 5-year sentence for manslaughter is just a character you're playing. You completely separate the wealthy you on the outside from the persona wearing that orange jumpsuit.
Which brings us to the breaking point, the erosion of identity, level 5.
The thing is, human psychology just isn't built to sustain that kind of compartmentalization forever. Halfway through that 5-year sentence, the walls literally and metaphorically start to close in. The money sitting in that locker suddenly feels very, very far away. You find yourself reciting the oaths of your organization like a daily prayer just to keep yourself sane. But that so-called brotherhood? Yeah, it starts to feel incredibly thin. The letters from home stop coming, and as you spend 23 hours a day in total isolation, you're left entirely alone with your thoughts. And that leads to a truly devastating realization. You start to forget who you were before the name on your jumpsuit. This reality really sets in as you sit there in isolation. It's kind of like a deep cover agent who has been under way too long. The lines just blur. You start thinking really deeply about the lavish life someone else is living out there, using the very freedom that you sold to them while you just waste away in a concrete box.
Let's look at the climax of this twisted career, the ultimate corporate sacrifice, levels 6 and 7.
So you eventually get out, right? You survived the 5 years, but you are completely burned. You now have a 300-page federal file attached to your name. You definitely can't be a ghost anymore. Yet the organization has one final massive job for you. A huge RICO case, a federal racketeering indictment is coming down, and the organization desperately needs a shot caller to take the fall for the entire operation. Guys, this is the big leagues. They promise you a staggering $2 million, stashed safely away in an offshore account. They tell you this is the move. This is what will set your family up for generations. It's the ultimate payday. But let's pause and consider the escalating cost of guilt you've been paying throughout your career. It started with just 90 days in county jail. Then it escalated to 5 years for manslaughter. For this RICO case, the organization promised you a 20-year sentence, whispering all these sweet assurances about clemency and early release for good behavior. But the reality? Oh man, the jury takes just 4 hours to deliberate. The judge hands down life without parole. There is zero clemency. There's no good behavior discount. You are immediately shipped off to a maximum security supermax facility like ADX Floor. And suddenly, you're 45 years old. The machine doesn't care about the deals you made in dark parking lots decades ago. Those high-priced lawyers, they stop taking your calls. And then, the absolute most terrifying thought creeps in. You have absolutely no way to verify if that $2 million offshore account even exists. The devastating truth hits you right then and there. You didn't just sell your time. You sold your very existence.
Which brings us to the horrifying end, the final betrayal, level 8.
This final stage is triggered by a very specific sound, the low, mechanical buzz of the visitor gate opening at the Supermax. You walk to the glass, fully expecting to finally see your attorney. But as you look through the reinforced window, it's not your lawyer. Sitting there is a 14-year-old kid, a new watcher for the organization. And looking at him, it sends an absolute shiver down your spine because he looks exactly like you used to look when you were first starting out. He picks up the phone and coldly informs you that the organization is restructuring.
Then he delivers the final message. Dead men don't collect. In that freezing moment, the entire illusion completely shatters. You finally realize that this corporate ladder you've been climbing your entire adult life, it was always resting on a pile of corpses. And you aren't the CEO. You aren't the winner of the game. You are simply the newest corpse at the very bottom, completely discarded, just to protect the real earners.
So, as we wrap up this explainer on the darkest realities of the criminal ecosystem, I really want to leave you with a provocative thought. Knowing how this trap slowly, methodically closes around you, at what level would you have walked away? It's just a chilling progression from a quick 90-day favor to a life completely erased. Don't get caught in the cycle, think critically about the true cost of those quick payouts, and as always, stay safe out there.